Hi everyone, you're probably wondering why I'm sketching something by hand in a video about an AI plugin for Cinema 4D. Of course, you can still start with a regular Cinema 4D scene, just like before, but now, even a rough sketch can be an input. I paste it into Nano Pro 2, add a prompt explaining that this should become a bedroom, and use the sketch as the starting point for the whole scene. Because now the models available in the selection menu are not limited to image generators or even video generators, but can also include agents that can do pretty much anything for you inside Cinema 4D, for example, building a scene from a badly hand-drawn sketch made with a pen. So, right now, Google Gemini, which is available to any Nano Pro user with a Google API key, is writing a script that will build my scene for me. Boom, it looks pretty close to what we need, but well, the only way to know for sure is to check the dimensions. The wall opposite the bed needs to be 5 meters long on the inside, so together with the thickness of the perpendicular walls, it should come out to 530 centimeters. Okay, we got 540, but the long TV shelf is 500, exactly as it should be, which means Gemini simply decided to make the walls thicker for some reason. But the bed and the built-in shelf behind it match the floor plan exactly. Excellent. Of course, agents are lazy, so all of this is built out of cube primitives, unless you specifically tell the agent to do otherwise, but for Nano Pro that is more than enough. So let's place a camera. Now we can render a viewport image inside the plugin and ask Nano Banana to turn it into what I want, a minimalist bedroom in a Mexican neo-modernist style with cozy evening lighting and a view of the patio. Not bad, although yeah, I completely forgot about the TV opposite the bed, both in the sketch and in the prompt. Good enough, and now we can place a second camera and generate a video from the first and last frames. If you noticed, the plugin now has two tabs instead of one. If you are working on a still image or a video based on a single frame, it does not matter which tab you use. But if you want to generate a transition video between two frames, pay attention to the tab names, first frame and last frame. So, what's our steps if we want to get the same room from a different camera angle? First, it is more convenient to temporarily make the final result from the neighboring tab the main image and place the linear render as a reference. Second, there is no way Nano Banana can do this for us, at least not nearly as well as Flux 2 Pro does. So right now I am going to enter a file.ai API key into the API keys dialog, or a key from any of the other providers listed here. It does not really matter, because all of them have Flux. And now I simply tell it to change the point of view to match the second image, which is our linear render. Boom. That actually turned out pretty well. By the way, there is now a feature where you can hold left-click on an image in the history list to temporarily compare it with the current one, thanks to one of the people in the Telegram channel who suggested it. That is how we noticed that in the area that was not visible in the previous image, Flux hallucinated some weird red object that we now have to remove. So let's draw a bright cross over it, switch back to Nano Banana and ask it to remove both the object itself and of course the cross too. Okay, that looks better. By the way, notice the swap frames button in case you need to quickly switch the first and last frames. Now we switch to Google View, choose a video length of 6 seconds, make sure the mode is set to first and last frame, and write a simple prompt: make a camera fly through inside our bedroom. And boom. That is the third time in a row I have said boom, but yeah. Every single time, this thing still manages to amaze me. Especially the fact that in less than 15 minutes, a rough sketch turned into a finished video, complete with a basic 3D scene that we can return to at any moment, place a new camera into, and fully control our next shot. So, you opened Nano Pro for the first time. Your first question is, where are all these models? How do I generate anything? In the model list I showed earlier, you can already see a bunch of things. You pick Flux because I did show something with Flux, so render your viewport, type a prompt. and get absolutely nothing except a long list of links to some missing files. You ask yourself, how do I even supposed to work with this? So, in the new version of the plugin, you have two ways to get started, the simple one and the free one. Let's start with the simple one. Click the API keys button. This is where you enter the API key of the provider that will actually give you access to the AI models. For the demo, I'll start with Google, simply because these days almost everyone already has a Google account. Go to AIStudioGoogle.com and sign in, then click the Get API Key button. Click the Create API Key button and generate a new API key. I will not go through every step here for safety reasons, just follow the dialog windows. Once the key is created, the most important part is that you will have to click Setup Billing for your new key and enter your credit card information. After you copy and paste your Google API key, the Google models will finally appear in the list, including the agent. And speaking of agents, they can do more than just create scenes from scratch, they can also edit scenes you already have open. One important thing to note, if you are not planning to use the image as a reference for the current agent task, it is better to remove it from the Active tab, otherwise it will waste tokens and increase the processing time unnecessarily. So here is the task I want to give it. Turn all cubes with identical dimensions into instances and give each one a ridiculous meme name. By the way, high reasoning is not necessary for a task like this either. Alright, done. Let's see who we have here. Harambe? Wow, that got depressing fast. Mocking SpongeBob. Pepe? I am starting to suspect Gemini is trying to tell me something. Okay, next time I'll probably be a little more careful with prompts. If we take another look at the API keys window, you will also see ByteDance and OpenAI there. You can probably guess what appears after entering those keys. Seedream, ChatGPT, and GPT image. But what are file, replicate, and key? These are what people usually call aggregators. Platforms where a single key gives you access to many different models at once. Let's take file.ai as an example. Just like with Google, there is a dashboard where you can create an API key and add a few dollars to your balance. By the way, at the moment, the most expensive 4K image generation is usually somewhere around 30 cents. As soon as you paste in your file key, models from Google, OpenAI, Seedance, and many others will appear in the list. And yes, you can add new ones yourself too. I will show how a bit later. Check the timestamp in the description. The available models differ slightly from one aggregator to another, so if you enter a replicate or key, you may notice some additional models there as well, including agents. By the way, key was added mainly because it is cheaper than most of the others and it supports pretty much every kind of payment method, but as a minus can be not so stable. If the existing models are not enough for you, let's take a look at how to add new ones yourself. For example, let's say Vio and Seedream can't solve your task and you want Kling. Here it is on file.ai. To connect any model, go to the API section on its page inside the aggregator. Technically, you could just copy all the programming gibberish from there into a text file, but ideally, if the site has a schema button, use that instead. Feed its contents into any LLM, then open the plugin folder and feed the NanoPro Pi to it, then give it a couple of connectors with similar functionality as examples, for instance Seedance and Vio. Now just ask it to make a NanoPro connector for Kling, similar to the Vio and Seedream ones, and wait about a minute. Once it is ready, just place the connector into the folder of your aggregator or provider inside the models folder of the plugin, and if that provider does not exist in the list yet, simply create a new folder for it. The new connector will not appear in the loaded model list immediately, so you will need to close the plugin and open it again. While we are restarting the plugin, let's also pick a little test scene for Kling. The connector appeared in the list. Just as planned, now we can render the camera view for the first frame. Now let's set up the camera for the second frame. Good. And just so this is not a completely boring camera transition, let's ask Kling to add something. Say, a flying saucer passing through the scene. By the way, I forgot to mention that connectors written by AI models are limited only by your imagination. You can ask to add anything you want to them, even direct uploading of the finished video to your Telegram channel. And now, yes, exactly 10 minutes into the video, we finally get to the question many people actually care about. Can you use all of this with, say, a ChatGPT subscription? The answer is yes, absolutely. Go and ask ChatGPT this. How do I install Codex CLI on an unprepared Windows computer? Codex CLI is OpenAI's agent that runs locally and can generate images and write code in a selected folder. Its use is included in your subscription, and this plugin connects it to Cinema. Open PowerShell or Terminal and follow the instructions you get step by step. They are not complicated. If something is unclear or does not work, just copy the errors back into ChatGPT and it will give you a solution. Once Codex is installed, you will be able to fully use both an agent that is every bit as capable as the Gemini agent I showed at the beginning of the video and the image generator, the most advanced currently available in the world. On the first launch, Codex will ask whether you allow it to work inside a folder in Documents. Just press Y and enter. It will write scripts and store logs in that folder, and it will not be able to access anything outside of it. And here it is, the thing that truly makes this plugin the next version, the ability to generate images and write scripts using a subscription you already have without paying extra for API access. I think the cat is agree. And this is where we finally arrive at the completely free way of using Nano Pro. ComfyUI is a visual interface for running and connecting AI models directly on your computer for free, especially for image and video generation workflows. The best thing is that any workflow built in ComfyUI can have the exact same kind of connector to our plugin as a regular Nano Banana or Codex. Just go to comfy.org, download it and install it, although realistically you probably already have it installed. Once you install and open it, you will find dozens of ready-made templates for all kinds of AI models. You just need to enable the ComfyUI filter in the templates section to keep only the ones that run locally. One of the models I included connectors for is Flux.2 Client 4B, a very compact and fast local alternative to Nano Banana that produces surprisingly impressive results for its size. And another one, two template variants for LTX 2.3, one for generation from a single frame and one for first and last frame generation. It is also extremely lightweight and very impressive for a free local model. Here they are, these three models at the top. So you have installed ComfyUI itself, but they still do not work. How do you launch them? For that you need to add the missing model files to ComfyUI. Go to the plugin folder, Models, ComfyUI, Workflows. Take the file with the name of the workflow you want and drop it into ComfyUI. A dialog with a Show Missing Models button will appear. Inside that error dialog, there should be a Download All button. Press it, then leave ComfyUI open for a time enough to download several gigabytes of model files. In theory, the download progress should appear in the console. In theory, once everything finishes downloading, you will most likely need to restart ComfyUI for the models to start working. I'll check if it works by asking Flux Client to add more smiling cats here. Okay, I think it is time to stop using prompts straight from my subconscious, because the sleep of reason produces WhatsApp greeting cards. Flux Client is still a great thing though. Now let's see how local video generation works. For this, I will switch to LTX 2.3 in first and last frame mode and go back to the bedroom shots we made at the beginning of this video. I'll ask it to make a camera transition between the frames and set the duration to 6 seconds. Surprisingly, local LTX generation on my machine takes about the same amount of time as cloud generation with something like Veo, around 2 or 3 minutes. Well, I think that is an excellent result for 2 minutes and $0. And finally, a few words about how to make your own connectors for ComfyUI. Let's say you built or simply found a workflow you need, like this LTX video-to-video workflow here. To use it inside Cinema 4D, the first thing you should do is save it as an API JSON. Place it into the ComfyUI models folder. Then, exactly like we did before, throw it into ChatGPT, Gemini, or Claude together with the main plugin file and ask it to write a connector for you. Wait a few minutes for it to finish, download the result and place it into the model's ComfyUI folder as well, and do not delete the API JSON file too. Close and reopen the plugin so the new connector appears in the list, then test whether it actually works.